Welcome to the Cosmic Echoes in this crazy time.
Really? I hadn't noticed.
We say this every week and then we
We
go,
do.
wow.
Gets worse.
Yeah, so Sue, I was going on a bit of a rant about patriarchy and the fact that we are living in a world where we still, in 2026, are putting eye flaps on and going, oh, but we just need to focus on keeping the status quo. But we can't, surely.
I think that's gone. I think we've got the tail end. It's a long tail. I do
Yeah,
agree. But this is definitely, this is collapse.
I would hope so.
There's no question about this. We are in a time of massive collapse. We
Yeah.
don't know how it's going to play out or where it's going to collapse. I mean, the whole thing is collapsing. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of really excited about it because I think this Neptune conjunct Saturn in
Mm,
Aries. I think this is really playing out now, and it's
yeah.
really interesting that we had the equinox, and
Yeah.
then we had the year and the horse, and then we had Saturn and Neptune conjunction at the literally the day that ex-Prince Andrew was arrested. And basically, that was I think that's the collapse of the monarchy. I think it's the collapse
Oh,
of
really?
the structures that we in England are so programmed to be part of.
Yeah.
So I've got hope, and it's very uncomfortable when collapse happens. And
Mm,
yes, I agree with you about the patriarchy, but I think that's collapsing too. So and I don't forget it's the old guard that's collapsing. It isn't the new stuff that's collapsing, it's the old
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And this younger generations that are coming up are going to do it really differently.
Well, they have to. I mean, I was having a conversation with my children the other day. My son is, what is he, 13, and my daughter is 15, turning 16 in April. And we were talking about the Y chromosome. So we're talking about XX and XY
Yeah.
chromosome, and that the Y chromosome is receding. And we're talking about patriarchy and, matriarchy and how in nature, animal species like the orca is a very, very, a successful predator, ruled or
Yes.
managed by the postmenopausal grandmothers, the wise women.
Mm.
And it seems to work pretty well, I would say,
Yeah.
But we have in our, I don't know, we don't know enough about what came before. We can feel it, I think, if we feel into it, but we don't know how the structures have changed because of the narrative that we've been fed. Um,
Don't forget, we're sitting on, oh God, I don't want to church bash. I really
no,
don't. And it's not
no,
about this because the church is doing everything it can to rectify its own very dark shadow, and that's both the
mm,
Catholic Church and the Church of England. And of course, as being Brits, we're mainly, not always, but very much, we are sitting on ancient conditioning
yeah,
from the church. And I'm just writing about this in my book, The Astrology of Life and Death,
mm,
the power which was, it's 2000 years ago since, Constantine and the edict of, creating Christianity as the as the religion for his enormous empire, and then Augustine and then Aquinas really setting the rules. Well, this is how it's going to play out. And
yeah.
then really free will was taken away from us
Hmm.
about what we felt was right or wrong and put into the hands of God.
Well, in the hands of man who represented God.
Yes,
Yes.
fair enough, fair enough. And so it has always been. But this is what's breaking down. And my excitement is that Pluto in Aquarius, that
Mm,
moved in very recently, really. And I think since Pluto has moved into Aquarius, there has been this major cracks in establishment and in
mhm.
the church. And Aquarius is about free thinking. It's about what is the truth of the universe.
Yeah.
So I think in the next 20 years, we're going to see a complete radical rethink about what free will really is all about. And
Well,
we're
yeah,
in this process. Sorry, I just
yeah.
finish it. We're in this process of discovering what that means, but it is, for me, astrologically inevitable.
And I hope so. I'm going to quote you on this once it is, because free will and freedom as a concept is something that we don't have a clue about. I'm sorry to say. It's something that our souls know. I think it's something that we've come into this world with, but since we've hit the ground, we kind of have been conditioned to fit into whatever box
Yeah,
it is. We're born into a country, into a culture, into a religion, um, and all of this, I'm just going back to what you were saying about Christianity as such, I have so much anger against that because it's based on such a beautiful man, Jesus Christ, who it's not his teachings that are being turned into his teachings, so he's being
yeah,
the front man for something that I just have this picture of him throwing the tables up in the temple and going, this isn't what
yeah,
it's about.
yeah.
And they've used the patriarchy as such, the they has used that element of rebellion, of free thinking that he represented to suppress, which doesn't feel very
Well,
just.
that's what we've been sitting on for 2000 years. And as I
Yeah,
said, I don't want a church bash. I'm not into
yeah,
that. I have had massive rage issues to do with the church. I've had to go through that
yeah,
outrage. And Richard Raw has
mm,
really helped me to come to not to deal with it, but to recognize my rage. And I
mm,
really respect him as an incredible teacher of how to reconcile, yeah, the outrage actually. So
yeah,
he's helped me enormously. And I think Beverly Laz Lazotta, she's a contemplative. And I think
yeah,
that the contemplative Christians really are the cosmic Christians actually.
yeah,
And I think that's definitely on the rise, the whole concept of what contemplation means within the Christian context, but not within the Christianity that we've been brought up is that, you're damned and you're sinful or whatever it
mm,
is to you.
yeah,
So I do think I really think Pluto is already at it and breaking down all the old ways of believing and thinking and being, especially this patriarchal, old, worn out religious dogma that I was certainly brought up with, but
yeah,
I'm not into it now. I mean, I've
yeah,
really broken out of that, including my rage.
yeah. See, and this is where I feel that um, we as representative of a divine feminine energy need to find ways to circumvent or move through the rage to actually be
Yes.
able to take this face on and say, I mean, the rage has been there for, as you say, at least 2000 years. But now we need to move on. Now we need to say, okay, I won't take your shit anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just me and I'm
Yeah.
fully grounded in my own energy. But then I mean, I can't put the news on. I get snippets and I do feel the collective consciousness, especially the feminine one, is going, hang on a minute, there's a dead man's files that you're believing above 1,000 women's, living women that are talking to you and telling you what has happened to them, but they are not being seen as equal,
Mm.
they're being ridiculed by a society or a culture like who I call the Orange Man. That space is not for us to engage with anymore.
Yeah, no, it isn't. And I do think that's actually coming to the fore. And
Mm,
I think eventually justice will happen. Well, it is beginning to. I mean, I think the
mm,
whole concept of Andrew being arrested and then Mandelson being arrested. They may not be arrested for sexual misconduct or whatever it is. They may not be that, but you know that everything is intertwined. Money, sex, what makes the world go round? Sex, money, and power.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have hope that within the next 20 years or so, and especially with this Neptune and Saturn coming into Aries. Now, I was listening to Chris Brennan, who's a
Yeah.
wonderful astrologer, and
Yeah.
he's done a very short, his videos are often 3 hours long. I can't cope with those, but he's done a very, very good short video on the impact of the eclipses and
Mm.
how eclipses often bring the downfall or the death of somebody very prominent. And it's
Mm.
very interesting that a couple of days after the eclipse in February, the last eclipse
Yeah.
in February, bingo, the arrest happened. And we
Yeah.
have another eclipse coming up on March
On
the
Tuesday.
3rd.
Yeah. 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 On the full moon lunar eclipse.
It's a lunar eclipse. It certainly is, and the moon is really doing a lot of heavy lifting in this because right opposite are one, two, three, four, five, six planets. It's a
Yeah.
all bunched up together, mostly in Pisces, but and then we it tails off with Neptune and Saturn in Aries.
Mm.
Now, this is very, very intense Piscean energy because you've even got the North Node there right next door to the Sun.
Well,
So
the sun is
there is
conjuncting the North Node today, isn't it?
yes. So
Yeah.
yes. So there's destiny at play. And
Mm.
what is Pisces? I mean, Pisces is it's on the lower aspect, it's confusion and delusion and wanting to escape. It's
Mm.
but on the higher level, it's the mystic, it's the poet, it's that
Yeah.
part of us that is attuned to the higher understanding of the purity of the divine, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm wondering about this that there's going to be, I think, more confusion or more truth will come to light because I think Saturn is going, hang on a minute, let's
Yeah.
just see the truth here. Let's just bring all of
Yeah.
this down to earth and see what the truth
Yeah.
is here. So I've got hope with that. And the moon, obviously, in Virgo is about practicality, the details,
Mm.
discernment. So let's see what happens next because it's not finished.
No, but
Nothing's
this
finished.
is the world though, isn't it? This is our
Yes,
journey. And and we chose to be incarnated into this space because I think
yes,
maybe our souls needed to find closure in certain aspects. And that's both
yeah.
masculine and feminine. I mean, I can just talk from my perspective, but I also have to raise my hat to the masculine that has chosen to incarnate in this time because there's a big closure there.
Absolutely. Oh, good Lord, yeah. And there's some fab men out there.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think we do the collective, oh, the patriarchy.
Mm,
But actually, there's some smooth, super blokes out there really
yeah,
going, we can't behave like this anymore.
yeah,
But
yeah.
so there is that, but there is this old guard of people that it's time for them to go. And the old hierarchy, the old money, it's all breaking down. And I think the monarchy is part of it, actually.
Well, good timing though. I mean, it is time for us to move
Yes,
on and take sovereignty. I
yes,
went to a citizen ceremony the other day, and it was so kind of I felt so uncomfortable because it was like, oh, we're looking up to our sovereign, like this human is
yeah,
nothing to me. I mean, he might be a yeah, anyway, he's a symbol
yeah.
for something different. And I also want to mention that in this patriarchy, it's not only men,
Oh,
women of that era
yes,
of that
yes,
thinking is upholding the patriarchy. So
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
just a male or masculine thing. And
No,
that's
but
always what makes it
absolutely.
worse. Yeah,
It is, but it is the old way of doing things.
that's it.
It's very controlling and very, yeah, hierarchical driven. It's, the top
Yeah,
down rather,
yeah.
yeah,
Judging
yes,
of,
yeah. This is the way to do it.
inferior, whatever, race, sex, whatever
Yeah,
you want to
but
call
it's interesting because when Charles got crowned, he did get crowned on an eclipse.
it.
And
Oh, interesting.
yes, he did. And my mate, I think it's Steve Judd, went, I don't think
Yeah.
he'll be there for long. And also Victor Oliver forecasted that as well. He's the editor of the Astrological Journal.
Mm,
So it wouldn't surprise me if Charles, as part of the whole clearing,
mm,
it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time, goes, and then William and Kate will step up, but in a very, very modern, different way, without the
yeah,
glitzy carriages and the crazy stuff that goes on. But they will be very important for Britain.
yeah,
But I think they'll take more on a kind of role of the Swedish royal family or
yeah.
something like that. But I
Mm,
just want to go a little bit more into the astrology, if that's okay, for March, because
yeah.
there's a couple of really interesting things happening. We're having the eclipse on the 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when it's in Virgo, it is about paying attention to detail. Don't
Yeah.
believe everything you hear, because there's going to be a lot of stuff coming out. Because opposite, we've got all this stuff in
Mm.
Pisces. There's going to be a lot of stuff that is not true.
But
So,
yeah, Mars also moves into Pisces the day before. It,
sorry.
Mars also
Yes,
moves
yes,
into Pisces the day
yes,
before the
yeah,
full moon.
he
Yeah,
enters, yeah. But he's right at, yes, he's
yeah.
part of the whole he's at 0 degrees, and then
Ah,
the
full moon.
North Node is at 8 degrees. So he's
Ah,
0 degrees, he's coming in. So it's very potent, this
yeah,
particular eclipse. But then what's interesting is during this month, we have two what we call camizis. Now
yeah,
we're going to have Mercury camizi, the sun, and then we're also going to have Neptune camizi, the sun as well. But what's interesting about the now I've got to just find my thing here. When is it? When does he go conjunct the sun? Hang on a second. I've got it here somewhere. He goes conjunct the sun. Uh, where are you? I've lost it. Conjunct Uranus. I know you're there somewhere. Anyway, but what this does is it expands the mind, but it's retrograde. So what's going to be happening? Yes, here we go. March the 7th. So Mercury is Camizi, the sun, retrograde, because he starts his retrograde journey now. So
yeah.
yeah,
This
so in
week,
fact he turned retrograde yesterday.
26.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's going to yeah, going. So this can exacerbate Mercury, the messenger, can exacerbate the confusion around communication or self-deception or willful thinking. But it's a wonderful time because it's retrograde for deep inner reflection and creativity and considering what is true.
mm,
Do I live in illusions? Is that, and maybe, it's time for, the what do you call it? The sort of the lids to fall off your eyes.
yes, yes, yes.
What the
The
hell is,
flaps.
yeah, the flaps. What the hell is the truth? So we've got that
Yeah.
going on. And then on the March the 22nd, just before, oh, just after the wonderful turning point of the year, yay, my favorite
Yes.
time of year, we've got Neptune Camizi. So this is really deeply it's a turning point of it can be a turning point of understanding.
So
It could
what is
be,
camizi, Sue?
yeah, Camizi is when the planet is absolutely conjunct the sun within seconds.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's not a degree off. It's like
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
yeah,
They're
that's right.
joining in a way,
It's
almost as close as they
absolutely,
can. Yeah.
it's not in the beams that
Yeah.
which is, or it's right conjunct. It's very, very powerful. So anyone's got a planet camizi absolutely within a second, a minute of another planet. It's
Yeah.
called camizi, and it's like it's like on steroids.
Okay.
Yeah. So this could be Neptune, spirituality.
Mm.
Can be
Dreams.
confusion,
Yeah.
but it is about spirituality. So there can be spiritual awakenings or a heightened intuition. It's the mark of the mystic. So you may, I'm not saying you will, but you may get more insights
Mm.
or weird things happening where the veil gets very thin. So it is absolute realizations about the illusion. So
Mm.
the most important thing you can do this month is stay grounded with all this Piscean energy knocking about. Really
Yeah.
important. And this comes just after the new moon, because the new moon, guess what, is in Pisces. So, so yes, and the new moon on the 19th is a major bowl, where the full moon is more like a bucket because you've got the moon as the handle. There's no
Yeah.
there's no handle here. It is absolutely a wonderful big bowl shape. So it's very intense,
Yeah.
this new moon in Pisces. So everything again is going to be saying what's true, what isn't,
Mm.
what's
Mm.
illusion,
Mm.
and then there's this Mars and Neptune in Aries, and with Venus going, well, what are your values?
Yeah.
What. So
Yeah.
yes, let's get real about this. And let's do
Yeah.
something about it because it's Aries.
Well, Venus goes into Aries on the 6th, doesn't it?
Yes,
So everybody's kind of hanging out in Aries. These Venus, Mars is in Pisces,
yeah. It's
Neptune and
moving through
Saturn on
quickly.
Aries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so there's a shift. I mean, I don't go hysterical about the personal planets, I have
Mm.
to say.
Mm.
If Mars is coming around to conjunct your Mars, that
Yeah.
means that you're completing a 2-year Mars cycle.
Okay.
So if you've got Mars in Pisces, just
Mm.
check on your chart. It means that it's completing this 2-year cycle, and that can trigger stuff, definitely.
Yeah.
But I don't personally get overwhelmed by the personal planets because they move
Mm.
on so quickly.
That's it.
That's me. Other astrologers are different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But I thought these camizis
Mm.
were really important because they're absolute focal points with the sun. Mercury retrograde, introspection, a
Yeah.
great time for that, the truth
Yeah.
again, my inner
Yeah.
truth, and then followed by Neptune, which is real spiritual insight and clarity. And if you're born with Neptune on the sun, two
Mm.
ways it can go. One is that you just, you don't want to do this, you're opting
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
So a lot, it can be it can manifest very much as addictions. I don't
Mm.
want to be here.
Hmm.
The other side of it is the absolute natural mystic, as
Yeah.
somebody who can see through the veils. So
Uh,
it's a very interesting placement.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's also very interesting just seeing the pattern here because well, went retrograde now. Okay, so Mercury
Yeah.
is in Pisces retrograde until the 20th.
Yes.
Um, and then just after that, Neptune commises the sun.
Yes, absolutely.
Uh,
No. No, Mercury is Mercury is Camizi on the 7th of March. It's
That's
the
right. Yeah. So
yeah,
Mercury goes retrograde on the
yeah,
26th, then the 7th it
yeah,
commises the sun, then it
yeah,
goes direct on the 20th,
yeah,
and then Neptune commises the sun.
yeah. And
So
the other interesting thing we've got going on March the 10th is Jupiter stations direct in Cancer. So
mm,
now it's going to start galloping towards um, Leo. And
okay.
we'll talk about that when the time comes. But I think
Yeah.
that's going to be a really interesting bridge between. this very strong, because Jupiter loves being in Cancer. It loves it.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
But when it goes into Leo, it can be very egotistical.
We
It's
don't know
very,
much more
very
about.
creative and it's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
But there can be a lot of that going on. So I'd be interested
Mm,
what happens with Trumpy
mm,
when Jupiter goes into Leo, and I think that's
yeah.
in June because he's got his Mars there and his ascendant.
Oh dear.
And all of this is going to be expanded. So you can
Mm.
overreach yourself.
And
We'll
he's not
see.
good at that.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I have predicted the end of Trumpy. I can't tell you how many times, and he's bounced
Yeah.
back like a cat with nine lives. So I don't know. He's like on one of those bungee jumps. Oh God, he's back up
Yeah.
again.
In Afrikaans, there's a saying. I'm sure there's an English version of it, but it translates to onkruid vergaan nie, so weed doesn't die out easily, kind of thing. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, isn't it? As we were talking before, these are unprecedented times. But
Yeah.
I've just been writing about King Henry VIII
Mm,
suddenly deciding, oh, I'm going to create my own church. The
mm.
Pope's a load of nonsense, and anyway, actually, I want to marry Anne Boleyn, so that's what I'll do. I'll
I'm gonna
sack the
change
Pope.
everything.
I'll just
Yeah.
change everything. And these
Yeah.
poor people who relied on the patriarchal teachings that the doctrine of the church was you're evil
Yeah.
person, you're born of sin, and you've
Yeah.
got all of this kind of stuff that went on. And suddenly it was like, right, you can't believe in that anymore, can't believe in purgatory, doesn't work, you can't say the prayers of the dead, there's no ritual, we'll strip all the churches away, we'll get rid of all your monks and nuns who you worshipped
Yeah.
and you thought that they were, the incarnation of the great whoever, and
Yeah.
we'll do all of that overnight.
But they fall for it. They go, oh, okay, that's what we're doing now.
Yes, but the thing is, they were ignorant. They were
Mm.
uneducated people. But
Yeah.
I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the massive change. And
Yeah.
people survived. We
Yeah.
all survived. We're all here. So
Yeah.
we will survive this. It's same, but different.
Yeah, but I think we'll survive this better because there's more of an element
Yeah.
of agency coming with us this time. Now I can see for myself and I
Yeah.
can choose instead of going, oh, okay, he said I must do it this way. Okay, so I'm going to do it that way.
Yeah.
We come with more, I hope. I hope.
Well, we're not being told what to do. So I think my issue, and I've been doing such a lot of research into this,
Mm,
that the thing that kept people going was faith. It may have been a
yeah,
corrupted faith, but it was faith. They had a faith in God. They had a faith in the doctrine. That's how they lived their life. It was like that's the way it was, no
yeah,
question. Because if you questioned it, you were on the fire. So
yeah,
everybody just went, I'll that's my faith.
yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah,
Then it got chucked up by the Church of England, and they did the same in
yeah,
those days.
yeah.
Everything is changing now. I'm not knocking the modern church, and they're doing the best they can to rectify what's happened.
Mm,
But I do think that because we're since the age of enlightenment, we live in this mechanized society where everything has to be proved, and if it isn't, it's rubbish. And we're still suffering from that. And we haven't gone back to faith. It didn't go back, it's gone forward into there is, I don't know I don't believe in anything. But if you
well,
don't
yeah,
have
exactly.
faith in
Yeah.
something greater than you kind of get a little bit out of kilter.
Yeah. See, there's two things that come up for me when you say, about that. Firstly, community. So with that faith, there was an aspect of community. There was a
Huge.
structure within the community. The elders were being revered as wise, because they knew the ways that you were supposed to do the right thing and all of that. But then on the flip side, there were also the witches being burned at the stake for being in touch with the earth, for being, you know, yeah, the other side of this, who also had a faith. They weren't
Did. It
heretics
wasn't
in
Christian
all
faith
ways.
necessarily. That's the
Exactly. Yeah,
thing.
it was more of a pagan
Mm.
living with the cycles, looking to the moon, or whatever, having herbs, knowing how to use and live with the land and all of that. And I think many of us were burnt at those stakes
There
for
wasn't that
being,
many that got burnt.
yeah,
There wasn't that many. We think there's thousands and thousands and thousands. There wasn't. And I
yeah.
think it's really important to understand there definitely were. There was around about, I think it was around about 1,000 to 2,000, but we're not talking about tens of thousands.
Mm.
Absolutely not.
But the population was also a lot smaller.
It was
So
much smaller.
in relation,
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
quite hectic, for you to
yeah,
decide to burn someone couldn't be,
yeah.
I don't know what kind of faith or religion you follow, but that's a bit hectic.
It's not. Well, they
Um,
did it because the Christians did it because fire was purification, and they
yeah,
thought they were doing them a favor.
yeah,
By purifying them. You just go, what? What? Oh, God Almighty,
yeah.
help.
Well,
Anyway,
exactly. Let's leave that there. Well, I
yeah,
think we've kind of gone down and come
yeah,
back up with that.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, we
Um,
have definitely.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think community, I think if we can find our community, it's always going to be, and to not make it homogenous, we need all elements
yeah,
of the world to learn about. We were talking about the 17th of February, or that week was such a big week, wasn't it? It was Ramadan, it was Lent,
yes,
it was the year of the fire horse, but it was
yes,
also
and the
the new year
eclipse.
and eclipse. And it was also the Mayan New Year, which I'm now looking into, which is very interesting because it's the year of the deer. And
Oh,
and
okay.
there's all these things that we aren't
Yeah,
necessarily connected with, but we are, because
yeah,
we
the
are
rhythms.
citizens of this planet. And it all has an effect on us if we are not living with our flaps on. Let's let
Yes.
go of these eye flaps.
And I mean, I say to everyone, it is not great out there at the moment, but we've all
Mm,
waited for this. I mean, I
yeah,
was talking to somebody a couple of nights ago, and I hadn't seen her for 8 years. And the
yeah.
last time I saw her, she was at my kitchen table, and we were both saying, the time is coming. We can feel it. We can feel it. And this is what we've been waiting for. When is it going to happen? And then last night, the other night we met, went, it's here. And we both just laughed, went, well, this is what we've
Really?
been waiting for. So
Yeah,
in our psyche, in our unconscious, we know that this is what we're here for,
yeah.
to steady Eddie,
That's it. Yeah.
steady
And
Eddie
with intent, with
with
not
intent.
accepting it anymore. Like this is it, and there is the proof. There is the
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So this is why I have hope
Mm,
that it's here. The collapse is happening. And I say to anyone, just make sure that you've got your feet, especially when you've got no earth in your chart. If
yeah,
you've got no earth element in your chart, it's really hard to be grounded and practical and actually to
yeah,
be discerning. Really, it's a toughie. If you
yeah,
haven't got earth in your chart, find a stone, stick it in your pocket, or a palm
yeah,
stone or anything, just to remind you that it's okay. We will get through this. It's going to
mm,
get worse before it gets better, but just to stay as grounded as you can. And we've talked about this before about being present and holding the light and acknowledging the darkness at the same time.
yeah.
That's the deal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There is no right or wrong. It's
No,
these
no,
hermetic teachings are so important in this time.
yes,
All truths are half truths, and the concept of polarity and vibration and
yes.
all of those things. It's still very relevant. It is what makes sense. As above, so below.
Yeah,
We
but
are,
it's
yeah,
as above, so below,
Um,
as above. There's a
yes.
whole cycle.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, it is absolutely. And
Yeah.
it's really interesting that the Hermetic teachings and the Gnostic teachings are all over YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
over YouTube. So if
Yeah.
you want to find out about the ancient Hermetic teachings and the Gnostic teachings, check out on YouTube because they're
Yeah.
there.
And it's so worth it. Go dive a little bit into Sophia. She
Yes.
is a very interesting, the goddess of wisdom, but also more, the
Yeah.
divine feminine. She
And that's she's
Gnostic.
very much connected with the Gnostic
Yeah.
teachings. And
Yeah.
if you go into Sophia and understand how the Gnostic teachings came about and how the I don't want to knock the church again, but the Christian teachings went out with her.
Well,
You
that's it.
know,
That was part of their removing
yeah,
us from that divine feminine, which was very connected to the Jesus and those energies,
yeah.
the Gnostic
And I
teaching.
think just to say also that it isn't they, it's
Mm,
us. The
mm.
whole of humanity is playing out at the moment. What
Yeah.
we, what, ha, what we, each one of us, however many millions there are on the planet,
Mm.
billions, each
Billions.
one of us is responsible for what's happening right now. So,
Yeah.
and I love the way that Mother Teresa used to say, check, just make sure that you understand that you're wearing a pair of jack boots too.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, true.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So on that note, thank you. Make sure yeah, maybe take the jackboots off.
Yeah. Well, keep them on, but just own
Yeah.
them.
That's it.
Don't
That's
pretend
also a
you
good
haven't
one.
got them on. Take the plank out
Yeah.
of your own eye. I mean, that was one
That's
of
it.
Jesus's great talking is look
Yeah.
at yourself first, mate.
Well, exactly, exactly. And he was a pretty cool guy. I
He
like
was
him.
cool. He was
Yeah, he was
definitely
very
cool.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely cool.
Yeah. Definitely not a patriarch. Lots of love. We will chat again
Yeah.
next week as we go into the new zodiac year. We'll be
Yes, we'll be
yeah,
there.
we'll be there. See you then.
All right. See you all then. Take care. Bye.